DIY friends, welcome back to my channel, the final episode of 2024, and I thought as a final video of the year, it would be fun to recap some of my most favorite DIY projects that I've made in my home and share where are they now? Did they hold up? Was the DIY worth it? What would I have changed? Will it change? We are sharing the real life in the now. I'm kind of nervous, but I think this is gonna be great. Editor, roll the tape. Boop. A portion of this video is sponsored by Incogni. To kick this video off, I am going to be rating my DIY projects just to give kind of a general meter on the projects in my home, where they stand in my standards. I figured we could start at the front door and talk about both the exterior and the interior. So, back in June of this year, I took on a pretty big mini project, which was my front entryway. If you saw that episode, you know. My entryway did not look so great. So I took it upon myself to remove all the old patio stones and build up my front stoop using brick I found for free from Facebook Marketplace, a huge win. There was a lot of elbow grease involved in this DIY and some learning curves when it came to cutting brick and placing it in a herringbone pattern, because you know your girl loves a good challenge. All things said, I thought the end result was pretty darn good for an amateur, and I spent less than $300 on all the materials to do it. I was very interested to know how the brick would hold up over time and the changing seasons, having had no previous bricklaying skills when I went into it. So this is the entryway. Obviously we are in the colder months, so things look a little dismal right now, but as you can see, the brick stoop is still bricking. Pretty well too. The color is held up. I mean, I could put a brick sealer and really make this look like full-time wet, but I kind of like that it goes a little bit washed out. It feels like it just doesn't really take away from the entryway too much, so I'm a big fan of it. It's held up so well, and it just makes, honestly, this whole entryway feel so much better, just so much cleaner, so much more presentable. Now, the only thing I would change is, as you can see, I made this completely level with the door, and I kind of hate it. Actually, both Jeffrey and I hate it because the doorway was never meant to be that. So when you grab this, now it's really low, where before it was about the right height. So in retrospect, I wish I'd created a little step up here. I think it would have been just a bit of a nicer experience, but all around, I think that this little stoop has held up well. This corner area was the one I was the most worried about falling, the ground underneath it. It was a little bit softer than everywhere else, so I was kind of worried that it was going to start to fall, but overall it looks like it's held up okay. This line here did shift a little bit, not by much, but you can see it's a little bit wonkier now than how I originally had it, so I don't know what that means, but the grout still seems to be doing okay, and we went through a few seasons and a lot of weathering, so you can tell that it has taken a bit of a beating, but all things said, I think it looks pretty darn good. It's held up really well, and my entryway just looks a bajillion times better than it did. So much more presentable. So, as a final thought to this, as far as a stoop goes, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I mean, if I could have found nicer bricks or purchased a better stone, I think maybe it could have looked nicer, but I was going for a cheap alternative, and it seems to be holding up okay for the most part. It definitely was a step up from the original. That's all I'm gonna say. Let's see, I can see it from here. Yeah, it's a step up. Now moving inside the home, let's chat about my interior front entryway. I have now refreshed this space twice on my channel. Yes, twice. Admittedly, of all the spaces in my home, my entryway is probably my most hated space in general. It's small, it's crooked, it's a wind tunnel when you open the door. When people come over, it's like packed sardines, and it's so unpleasant of an experience when this is the first thing you see when you enter my home, and I hate it. So the DIY I want to focus on is the floor, because to refresh this space and give it a completely new look, I always opted to hack it using a paint and stencil on the floor. Now, it's been exactly 2 years since I've painted this, and here's what it looks like. Okay, here is the current entryway. So as you can see, I mean, the paint is held up pretty well. It still looks primarily the same. I'd say the only difference now is, you know, some of the dirt stuck in the original floor. As you can see here, like it's just, I can't clean it out. I have tried scrubbing, I have done everything I can, and some dirt just seems to want to stick around in the white areas. So I'm thinking if you're gonna paint a front entryway, maybe go with a dark color because the red still looks great. And this needs to get either repainted or replaced with just a black rubber piece because obviously you can see it doesn't look very nice, it looks very weathered. Hey, my DIY bench is doing pretty good. We've kept it in here. Actually, one downside to the bench is the bench kept scraping against the floor. So you can see that there's like marks here that have come up from the paint. So I'd say that's maybe like a downside to painting the floor. So that sucks. But the bench is holding up. It's benching. I wouldn't bench that idea. So let's rate this paint hack. I think this hack is great for pantries, powder rooms, places where it's not like a crazy heavy traffic. Winters are really hard on that floor, and because of that, I would rate this maybe like a 5 or 6 out of 10. It still looks cute and it's still better than what it was. And also I should say that that entire side of the house, because there's no foundation under it, it's been like slowly sinking 3/4 of an inch over time, and that goes for that entryway. So like putting down tile or coming up with like a more permanent solution feels so silly when I know that it's just slowly starting to sink over time. It's just not good. It's not a good situation and it's gonna have to change. Moving on, let's chat about my kitchen. When I first moved into my home, one of the first makeovers I focused on was my moody kitchen makeover. It is hard to believe that this kitchen used to have reddish wood cabinets and floor tile tops. Yes, I said floor tiles, but I've added a lot into that kitchen over time, so I'm kind of eager to show you how it's held up over that period of time, from the paint to all the organizational tools that I've added. So here it is in the now. Okay, moving from the front entry, we move into the dining / kitchen area. So I made it into a very moody kitchen space, and it's basically stayed that way for the most part. I mean, not a lot has changed about this kitchen other than the fact I changed out these beautiful lights. But other than that, like the kitchen has primarily stayed the same. We still have our beautiful wood countertops that my husband and I DIY'd. This countertop has held up beautifully, minus the fact that, you know, we've had some human error go onto the countertop. As you can see, there's a bit of spotting. Like this is all on us. Jeffrey left a copper pot on top of here, and now we have this giant ring. So this whole thing needs to be sanded and re-stained and re-oiled. The downside to a butcher block top is that you do need to re-oil it twice a year, I would say. We still have our Farmhouse sink in here. I love this sink so much. It's one of the best investments we've ever made in this house. Now I will show you the downside. So one thing we didn't think about was in behind here. So when we're washing our hands, our wet hands will like turn this on and turn it off. However, so much water falls in right here that like the wood here has started to wear out. The grout gets really gross. I think I'm gonna have to like DIY some kind of tile solution behind here at some point because the wood is just getting ruined. You can see it's like it's cut some darker spots, but that's just from the water falling from our hands so often when we go to turn this off over and over. You know, it doesn't look great. It's worn out a lot, and it's just an issue that we need to address within this DIY plan. But as you can see, like the paint is holding up beautifully. It cleans super well. The only downside is all the wear and tear on this area here. We have this like little trim piece, and there's just a lot of paint that has come up. Just gets a lot of wear and tear and a lot of cleaning. Even right there, this has all started to peel. So I would say that the paint didn't really hold up well here, but everywhere else, I mean, it looks stellar. It's still going strong. No complaints. I mean, I don't hate this backsplash, but I don't love it either. It's not easy to clean. I do like the vibe. It's very organic. That I do like, but I just don't think it's what I want in our kitchen space. And also this floor tile has got to go. This one's broken. It's been broken since we moved in. It's got cracks in it, and like in between all the cracks, all the grout just like holds food, and it just needs to be scrubbed all the time. It's not great, so that needs to go. But that's something we want to fix next year. These organizers is one of the best things we've ever put into this kitchen. I'm still obsessed with it. They still work so well. I built these out of hobby oak strips. I saved so much money DIYing these myself, and like it still functions beautifully for us. Like this is one DIY that I will never regret and always push on people to do, because this changed everything in our kitchen space. Actually, while we're in the kitchen, we should talk about this DIY faux beam that I haven't really drawn much attention to since I did it. I love this DIY. I've never regretted doing this DIY. I think it's held up beautifully. I love it as a transition piece from here into the living room. Now, there is like a small crack that seemed to have formed in this board, but like I think it kind of adds to its beauty. And it's been one of my favorite DIYs to ever make. And it was such a simple little thing. All I did was just wrap some wood around it and just kind of beat the crap out of it to give it an old beam look, and I just think it's so lovely. Overall, I'm gonna break this down. The island countertops, I would rate this a 9 out of 10. I was gonna say 8.5, but I think 9 because all the things that are wrong with the countertops are human error. So I think I would rate it a 9 out of 10. It has held up so well, and it has just been a beautiful kitchen island for us. Now, the Bear Dynasty paint, 9 out of 10. I mean, minus the wear and tear around the edges, which seems kind of normal. I think that paint has held up super well. It still looks great. It's very cleanable. It's easy to maintain. So yeah, I'd give that a 9 out of 10. Close 10 out of 10. If it wasn't for the wear and tear around the edges, if that held up, I would say like, damn, that's a good paint. The DIY drawer organizers, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 because it's still working great and it's still organizing. And last, let's rate the beam, the faux beam. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. I think it looks great. I still love it. So I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Also in the kitchen, let's rate my raised DIY dog eating station. I knew this would see the most wear and tear out of any project I took on. My goal with this raised dog station was to create a place for dog food storage, but also make it aligned and more incognito with my kitchen space, less of an eyesore. I built the entire thing out of MDF. I painted it with the same Bear Dynasty color cracked pepper, and the drawer was on wheels so it would be easy to pull out when needed. I also hacked a bamboo cutting board to fit the dog bowls on top and added a little brass detail around the top, which I loved. So here is how it stood up over time. Okay, so let's talk about the raised dog feeder. I love that it matches my cabinets. I love that the wood matches the countertops here. It like everything feels very cohesive. I mean, there are some downsides to this DIY that I think a lot of people called. I added this like brass rod detail in the back and it already fell off over here. It's also made it incredibly hard to clean, I will say that, and the brass rod has started to corrode already. So I think like eventually that's gonna fall off and I'm just gonna let it fall off. I mean, the bamboo top is holding up pretty well considering water gets on everything. So this does need to be cleaned quite often, which I'm glad it's painted with the Bear Dynasty paint because like this thing cleans up so well. This function still works really well. The only downside is that this part here has worn out a lot. My regret is building this piece with MDF because the way that it rubs, all that paint is just worn out over time. And that's kind of an unfortunate thing. I think if I added a piece of felt across the top, this might work, or maybe like a piece of rubber, I don't know. This holds all his food, which we clearly need to buy more of. And we have some of his joint medication that he takes. So we keep everything in here. Also his little cup for scooping there. Normally this is full, but apparently we need to buy more dog food, but yes. But overall, it's been a great little DIY. It's held up for the most part and Kenobi seems to love it. You love it? He's like, I love it when there's treats in it. I know. There you go, boo-boo. So yeah, I mean, it's seen some stuff. So I'm giving this DIY an 8 out of 10. My dog is a sloppy drinker, a sloppy eater. So I think, you know, adding that brass detail on the top was just, never going to survive, truly. And you know, in the same way that I want my dog eating station to be a little bit more incognito in my kitchen, I also want my personal information to be that way as well, which is why I'm thanking the sponsor of today's episode, the final episode of the year, Incogni. Did we like that segue? Did we like it? It was okay. Yeah, all right. I don't know about you, but I'm sure you've experienced those scam robocalls from people saying they're from the CRA or the IRS or it's the police, or you get those emails like, click the link, and then it ends up being like a big malware hoax, or those scary AI scammers that mimic the voices of your friends and family to trick you into sending them money. Oh my God, I've seen so many of those and it's scary. And if you have ever wondered how they keep getting your number, the answer is data brokers. They often sell your personal information to companies to build these intrusive call lists. The scope of annual data breaches worldwide are rising, and in this digital age, the likelihood of your data getting breached is constantly increasing. Your personal information is being sold or published online without you even knowing about it. But the good news is that we all have the right to protect our privacy and request that data brokers delete the information they hold about you. And that's where Incogni comes in. They reach out to data brokers on your behalf, request your personal data removal, and deals with any objections on their side. I've had my Incogni account running for about a week now, and just in the first hour of me setting up that account, I could see that I was removed from up to 15 broker lists. That's incredible. All you have to do is create an account, grant Incogni the right to work for you, and then you just kick back and watch them work. The process is fully automated. Don't let these sites expose you to a wide range of dangers like AI voice scams and identity theft or online harassment and stalking. It's scary, and the best part, use the link in my description box and use the code DIY Danie to get an exclusive 60% off an annual Incogni plan. We have to protect ourselves in this digital age, my friends. Be careful. All right, let's get back to rating my DIY projects. All right, let's move on to the DIY stair runner and kind of stairway area in general. The stair runner was something I installed in March of this year, actually. This was my first time ever doing something of this nature, and I had no idea what to expect through that process, but I did learn the steps to get me there. Through this process, I added padding underneath the stairs, stapled the runner down, and added this lovely brass rod detail. But honestly, I wasn't sure how this runner was going to withstand the daily wear from my dog, and frankly, my husband for that matter, who walks with much intention. If you know what I mean. So after 10 months of stomping, dogging, and husbanding and general wear, this is what the stairs look like now. So this is how the stair runner has held up. I mean, it looks great. It's still going strong. Cleaning it has been easier than I expected. It vacuums really well. Like, I've had absolutely no issues. Getting in here with the dog hair has been no issues with the right tool. Cleaning out the sides have been no issues. I was a little worried about that, but like, all things said, it's really come together nicely. The brass detail has held up nicely. Nothing has come undone. Nothing is loosened. No staples have come out. So I don't know. I think this has been a great DIY. It adds so much coziness to this space, like the color scheme and just everything in the living room. It just feels so cohesive. It warms this whole little corner up, and yeah, it's held up pretty darn good. Also, I'm going to draw attention to the textured wall. This was something I had done when I originally made over the stairway. And like, as you can see, this wall is still going strong. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, it was a new DIY for me. I didn't know if it would crumble. I didn't know if it would be hard to clean, but like, it's been amazing. I have absolutely zero regrets on doing this. And the color was just perfect. It matches the stair runner perfectly and all the wood details. So I'm very happy with its final outcome. Being in this corner, we can also talk about this DIY. This one was quite popular. I had no idea that this rock art would be so popular on my channel, but everyone loved it. I love it. It's still on my wall. It's such a beautiful organic piece that just like matches my living room so beautifully. People were like, how are you going to clean it? Very easily. I just, do a little Swiffer thing on top of it and it cleans up beautifully. I love this DIY so much. I absolutely think that people should make more of these. It just was such a fun piece and it's been in my home ever since I made it, and I think it'll be in my home for a very long time. I love it to pieces. Okay, and then the last DIY I want to talk about in this stairway, I'm going to turn this on because that turns on this guy here. This DIY was a bamboo bowl. I took just like a regular bulb ceiling light and drilled a hole in this, and then it has become this most beautiful piece of art. You know, this whole back wall piece was kind of a weird place. Like I wasn't sure what to do with it. So adding this light here as like a piece of art has just been the most lovely thing on this planet. I love it to pieces. It lights up the stairway at nighttime, and it's just become one of those things that I don't think I would ever replace in my home because I love it so much and it just costs so little to make. It's so good. And I've DIY'd a lot of lights in my home, but I have to say this is probably one of my favorite for sure. Overall thoughts? Honestly, I'd give the Stair Runner a 10 out of 10. I love it. It made the biggest difference in the general vibe and warmth of the space. It's so much cozier on the feet, and it made the stairs just a safer experience for my dog and just everyone. Also, for the textured wall, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. It cleans well, it's held up just fine with general day-to-day wear, and trust me, those stairs are slim and we are smashing laundry bins down those walls on a regular basis, and it's held up. There hasn't been any chipping, so honestly, I think it's been a great project. The rock wall art, 10 out of 10. Love this art piece. Hasn't moved from my wall, so I clearly love it. It's still held up. No rocks have fallen off of it. The glue's holding. The rock's holding. The project rocks. I love it. DIY bowl light. 10 out of 10. Looks beautiful. Love it on my wall. Wouldn't change a thing. Moving on, let's talk about my bedroom and the Ikea PAX wardrobe update. Many people have asked, how has this held up? To remind everybody, I had the Ikea PAX wardrobe in my bedroom. This was something I had in the original design, and then I updated it later. All I did was wrapped the exterior with some wood elements and then created new doors with these beautiful arch details that sat on the front. I did this project 2 years ago, and let's see how it's held up over time. Okay, coming into the bedroom, let's talk about the PAX wardrobe hack. As you can see, this is still to me, so perfect. I like that all the doors currently have kind of like a mix match wood feel. It just feels so authentic, even though it's so genuinely not authentic. I love these handles. This was kind of like a very Japandi style handle with the dowel and the leather wraps, but honestly, this is probably one of my favorite IKEA hacks of all time. And when you open these doors, you can still see the top. Oh, I added those lights in for Jeffrey. He loves them so much. But yeah, we have all this storage element on top of the PAX wardrobe, which has been really great. However, I will say this is one addition that I had to add. I actually put these little hardware pieces on the top and some of them on the bottom. Now, depending on where the door decided it was gonna warp, so adding that little hardware piece at the top or bottom on some of the doors has been really helpful, just to keep it flat lined like this. Now over here, I made a shelf. This was to show off some pretty things, but it is literally just turned into shoe storage, shoebox storage, jewelry box storage, and a place for hats and just general things in the bedroom. I don't know. This is kind of one of those DIYs that I had high hopes for, to just have a nice looking bedroom, but this is reality. But yeah, as far as DIYs go, I think this is one of my favorite IKEA hacks of all time, and she's still holding strong. Also DIY centric in here. The headrest in our bedroom, I still love it to pieces. Originally it was kind of like a farmhouse vibe, but then I kind of moved into a modern organic, and I still think it suits the style. I had stained it darker, and I think the darker stain just looks so beautiful on it. I love this headboard so much, and I just love the little shape of it. I just think it's so fun. It's so unique, and definitely a favorite of mine in the house. We used to have some hanging lights that were in here with the egg carton DIY. DIY, but it just was such a bad dust collector and it just wasn't great. So we ended up actually taking them out. We put these side tables in, and then I actually stole the Kenobi lamp from the second bedroom because I loved it so much. I still think that this wall needs some work. I think we could do better in this corner. I don't have a vision for it yet. I love the peg rack that I built in for Jeffrey over here that he puts his towels on there and then belts and stuff. But I'd be interested to know what you guys think I should do over here. So comment down below, let me know what you think. Overall thoughts? Honestly, I'm giving this IKEA hack a 10 out of 10. I don't care what anyone says, I still love it. I think it looks beautiful. I think it was cost effective to give me those warm brown cabinets without having to build those warm brown cabinets, and I love it. And if I ever want to go back, I still have those PAX wardrobe doors. All I have to do is just pull the wood off, maybe fix a few holes, but like that's it. She's still a functional wardrobe. So 10 out of 10 for me. Good project. And my DIY headboard still looks great. It's easy to clean. It was an effective way to give that bed kind of like a nice focal point in the room, and I still love it. The DIY organic lamps that used to be in that bedroom makeover just ended up collecting dust, and it was very hard to clean. So I'm gonna give the DIY lights a solid 5 out of 10. I still think it looked awesome, but yeah, it's just maybe not the right material for a lamp. It needs to be cleanable, and it just wasn't. So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10 because it was still pretty cool. Moving on to my teeny tiny third bedroom, I wanted to chat about my vanity transformation. 2 years ago, literally how was this 2 years ago already? I tore out the closet in my third bedroom and instead built in a custom vanity area complete with a cute wallpaper, a 6-drawer system with a wood top, and added electrical for 2 lights and a plug. And here's where it's at now. All right, here we go. Going into the third bedroom. Hello, Samantha Dresser. We'll come back to you. So this is the vanity area. Not much has changed since I had originally built this in, but I have to say, this is probably one of the most used DIY projects I've ever put into my home. I mean, like everything has a function, but like I genuinely use this space every single day. It doesn't look as beautiful as it did when I first styled it. This is very practical, everyday me now. I have my little dish with like everyday products that I use and my rings, and just like I have all of my brushes over here. Like this space is used every single day. The lights aren't my general favorite. Like I like the finish, I love the brass finish, but these used to have a glass piece around it that I removed out. The glass actually like started to burn. And I don't know why that is, but they just like discolored. So I ended up removing the glass from the lights, but I don't know if these are the final solutions. I also don't know if this wallpaper is the final solution with this color. It's all feeling weird. But this tabletop was completely recycled. This came from an IKEA wood top that from a table that I didn't need anymore, and just cutting this down and using that was great. Actually, this is a little decorative item that I DIY'd. I love her. I think she just looks beautiful in this little corner. She feels like she's meant to be in a vanity area, you know what I mean? Okay, we should also talk about this mirror. So in the episode, I had this mirror. This used to be silver, and I used a rub and buff to like make it gold. And I love it because it just tucks away. I keep it on this wall, and then when I need it, I pull it out and use it. The only downside is that the rub and buff has kind of mucked up my wall a little bit over time and just hitting it a bunch of times. But I can oversee that a little bit because I'm actually just so surprised that the rub and buff has stayed on there, and it still looks great. It's still gold, as you can see. Just a few areas, like right here with this piece going up and down it. I mean, that makes sense, but like overall, I'm kind of like amazed. It's held up. Now, as for storage, I mean, I've kind of kept up with the little compartments that I created, not in the best way, but I mean, they do work and they do keep this drawer organized. But in here, this is the organization system that kind of went downhill. So I built this like little drawer that can slide back and forth, and it does do that, but I've stuck so many products in here that like it doesn't really work anymore. I mean, this has been great. These do allow me to put all of my hair products that I use the most, and I do keep things back here that like, you know, that I don't use all the time, but I don't know, this storage solution didn't really go great. But overall, I think that this station is lovely and I'm really proud of it. I am giving the Vanity as a whole a 10 out of 10. I feel like maybe I'm just an easy rater, but I'm giving everything a 10 out of 10. You get a 10 out of 10. You get a 10 out of 10. Now, I'm giving the organizational hacks a 7 out of 10. I think I can do better. The mirror DIY, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I thought for sure that Rub and Buff Gold was going to rub away over time with the accordion, but like it still held up and I use it every single day. I just love it. I am going to admit one thing though, upon reflection from that project, you know, I think that the blue matched the wallpaper beautifully, but it's funny, after I finished that project, I kind of was like, I don't think I like this wallpaper anymore. I don't think I like that blue anymore. I think they match each other beautifully, but I don't know. I just like moved past it so quickly and I was like, oh, I wish this cabinet was a different color. And I'm definitely more like natural colors, like the mossy greens or browns or deep reds. Like that's kind of my jam. So it was so weird that I went with that wallpaper and that blue color. I guess it just called to me at that time, but yeah, I don't know. Also, the Samantha dresser is sitting in that room. Still functioning beautiful. I love it. I'd say the only thing that would be nice to change is the top. I know a lot of people were very upset about the fact that I didn't make a larger top. And most of that came down to the fact that I didn't want to increase the budget on the project. I was trying to do it for cheaper and I proved that I could. Now, would it be nice to add a top that covered all of the dowel legs that I created? For sure, for sure. So I think it would be nice to add another top onto that, but honestly, I'm not bothered by it. So overall, I'm rating that project a 10 out of 10. I think it's great. No, you know what? No, I take that back. I'm gonna rate it an 8.5 out of 10, and I'll tell you why. The lip that I had to add on the front, because I did the little scallop detail, it makes the first drawer a little bit more challenging to use and put clothes in, because I find that clothes are always grabbing on that little lip. That's the only downside. The drawer is still functional. It just doesn't, it's not quite as functional as the other drawers, if that makes sense. So that's all, maybe, that's like the only downside to that dresser. So maybe it's like a 9 out of 10, because that seems like such an oversight thing. But if that top really bothered you, you could replace that if you're willing to spend more. I just wasn't, because I'm cheap. Okay, finally, we are going to touch on the bathroom. Now, this is the one I know that everybody has been waiting for. Should you be new to this channel, 4 years ago, I set out to transform my purple ick bathroom that ironically matched my hair color at the time into a beautiful modern farmhouse style space. I tore out the floors, I replaced the sink, the toilet, I upcycled the DIY cabinet for towel storage, I added a wainscoting detail on the walls, we painted the walls, the original floors got painted black, the original shower had not terrible tile, but it wasn't great, and being that the bathroom had a slanted ceiling, the original shower bar was low and awkward. So we ended up painting the tile with a tub and tile paint in white, super smelly but very effective, and removed the shower bar and added a swivel door complete with a faux DIY industrial detail on the front. So the question remains, has that bathroom held up and have we changed anything? Let me show you. All right, and here we go. Here is the washroom space. It has pretty much stayed the same, but this is how we live in it on a daily basis. The mirror's still the same, the lights, I've wanted to change these lights out a bajillion times, just haven't done it. I don't know why. We still have the DIY cabinet in here, which I love. We still have my old rug in here. We still have the shelves up here. I added this guy, I found him at Michael's and I thought it was so funny, like so accurate. So this is how the DIY industrial shower has held up. And as you can see, she is holding strong. I'm actually kind of flabbergasted too. I know some of you are gonna be like, wow, I did not expect that to hold. There's a little bit of like wear and tear on the edges, but like overall, it's held very strong. Down here at the bottom where the calcium builds up in this section, like I've had to scrub a little bit harder and some of the spray paint has come off here, but I think overall using that etching cream first and then going in with the spray paint was just such a good idea. And I mean, as you can see, it has held up really well over the years, but we would like to find a solution that can come out a little bit longer. We do find that water does get up on this lip here a lot of the times and it's not great. So we do put a towel there when we're showering. But as far as the DIY goes, I think it's lasted a long time and I think it's done its job. And after almost 4 years, I think the tub and tile is still going strong. Like, I'm pretty impressed. It looks really white. I think it like yellowed a little bit. I do believe it was a little bit whiter when I first did it, because you can kind of tell against the white tub how it's yellowed just a bit. But like, it's kind of a nice creamy color. It's not the worst. Now, as you can see here, you can see a little bit of the wear and tear. You can see in these like darker spots on the grout. Now, this has only happened, I would say, within the last 3 months. So this is a very new thing. So after 4 years, you can kind of see how the grout started to deteriorate, and then the paint itself started to kind of like chip around that. Yeah, it sucks that this is happening, but like, I cannot complain at the fact that we've had 4 years of this and no issues. Honestly, the thing that has been the most upsetting is probably this shower head detail. Like over here, you can see how the detail on the top of this hardware has completely started to peel away. And I think that is a pretty unfortunate thing. I would say maybe that hardware is probably the most regretful thing that we've put into this space so far. So I'm going to break this into a few parts. General area changes, 10 out of 10. I still love the color, still love the dark floors, still love the wainscoting. I do want to tile the floors, which kind of breaks my heart, but I think it's for the best of the space, to be honest. Tub and tile paint. Honestly, I want to give this a 9 out of 10, but I feel like we need to give the product a 10 out of 10 because it has held up over 4 years and it's still been cleanable over 4 years. It still looks pretty fresh over 4 years. So honestly, I think that product deserves some kudos, even though it is super smelly. You definitely need to wear a mask when you're doing it, but totally worth it if you just need a budget-friendly solution when updating your bathroom. The shower door, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Most of the issues with it, I mean, are just based on hard water buildup, and more comes down to the function of the door because it did start to leak eventually, which caused a lot of water damage. But the DIY industrial pieces are still going strong. Maybe it's just worn out a little bit, but it's still functioning. We still love it, and I can't complain. So to end this video, I thought it would be nice to kind of talk about the things to come that I plan to focus on in 2025, which just sounds crazy. I mean, obviously a lot of focus is going to happen up in the studio space, finishing the studio, adding storage elements in the studio, finishing the main floor, which means a lot of stuff in the workshop is to come. I have a whole cabinet saw that's been waiting on the sidelines. So I'm feeling very eager as a Canadian beaver to start in there, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I can't wait. But then in my house, I really want to finish the kitchen countertops. I want to make something DIY and maybe rethink the cabinets up top. I want to retile that space as well. Now the office area will be pivoting a little bit with me moving into the studio area. I'm going to be focusing on creating a temporary office setup because I'm still not 100% sold that I know the plan for how the office should be, being that I've never worked up here. So I'm going to work on a temp space and share what that looks like. And with that, my original office may be getting some zhuzhing happening, a little masculine office makeover for the hubby / workout room. Beyond that, I would love to focus on more Ikea hacks. I'd love to be doing some more nerdy things in the new year. I definitely want to be doing more Can I Make It for Cheapers? I want more Love It or Thrifteds, more curious creative explorations. A lot of storage and organizational videos are coming in the studio and workshop in 2025. It's going to feel like we're a whole organizational channel. It's going to be a big year, but I'd love to know what projects are you all excited to see from my channel in 2025. Your opinion matters, so I'd love to know. Answer down in the comment section. Let me know what kind of videos this year did you love the most? What kind of things would you love to see more of? Comment down below. I love hearing your feedback. It just means the world to me. But with that said, DIY friends, thank you for another wonderful year of content creation. Thank you for supporting this channel. Thank you for supporting my creativity, watching every week and sharing the love. You have no idea how much that means to me. And of course, big love to my Patreon crew. I just love hanging out with you guys every day on the Discord. I feel so close to so many of you. You have all been such a huge part of my life, a huge inspiration to my creativity. You've all been such a big part of building one of the best creative communities on this planet, but I'm kind of biased. If any of you out there are looking to be part of a community of creative people who love to talk DIY, nerdy stuff, book stuff, animal stuff, cooking stuff. We don't just do DIY. We have a lot of topic boards. We do movie nights, creative challenges, and creative swaps. It's just the best. And if any of that sounds enjoyable to you, come join us. I have linked my Patreon in the description box. Friends, thank you for another amazing year. I'll be back January 4th for episode 1 of 2025. We are taking on a big office fantasy reading room for a book nerd, and I am so excited. So subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in 2025. As always, my friends, stay positive, stay creative, love your magic, and keep on DIYing. Bye-bye.